Share with us in the chat where you're joining from. And we can just sort of all meet each other that way. Today's session is, geez, I can't remember what number it is now. 14 or 15, Diane or Tristan?
It's
It's
14.
15, but we missed 14, so
Yeah,
14 is coming at the end of May. But this is
Okay,
yeah,
15.
so
in
this is
that case.
14.
Yeah, let's try 14.
Yeah. Um, yeah, so today we're joined by Cheryle Dreaver from the First Nations Health and Social Secretariat of Manitoba. She's going to be talking about the anti-racism training that they do. And our virtual visits here, we do as part of our the CYD program, the Child and Youth Diabetes program that focuses on Indigenous communities. And part of what we want to do too is bridge communities more with the philanthropic sector. So that's why we hold these sessions to get people to meet and share and learn from each other. And I think with that, I'll turn it over to Cheryle. Thanks, Cheryle.
Good afternoon. Thank you so much, Jeff. Thank you, Diane. I'm really happy to be here. A lot of the work that we do with anti-racism work at FNHSSM is diabetes focused. So a lot of the articles that we review together and have discussion are diabetes focused. But yeah, I have a presentation and I'll do my best to follow the presentation, but no guarantees. Only because like there's so much to share and a lot of work has already been done. But I'll start by introducing myself. My name is Cheryle Dreaver, and I am a First Nations band member with Mistawasis in Saskatchewan. It's about an hour, no, about a half hour away from Prince Albert. So it's pretty northern. But I grew up all over Canada, but mostly here in Winnipeg. So Winnipeg is my home. This is where I have my family, and this is where I work and have all those really great, awesome connections. Outside of this work, I also do art. On the right side over there, I did that art piece because we use Canva a lot, and I find that there's not a lot of Indigenous art. And I was like, oh, whatever, I'll just make my own. So I made that one. Um, but I'll get on with the presentation. I also have those books up here. There's a lot of reading content in the work that we do, but those are just some of my favorite books there. And yeah, I will move on to the next slide. And I don't think it's moving. Click. Okay. So, First Nations Health and Social Secretariat has been around since 2014, and we collaborate with 63 First Nations and 7 tribal councils and 3 PTOs to promote awareness of First Nation health issues and to enhance the well-being of individuals and communities. We aim to empower First Nations to control their health through unified efforts while respecting traditional knowledge. Our mission is to assist Manitoba First Nations in achieving and maintaining total well-being by implementing effective programs, protecting Indigenous values, and supporting research and informed decision-making. Some of the work that we do also involves a lot of advocacy policy, research, and systems transformation. We have departments with e-health, maternal child health, data sovereignty, diabetes integration project, and those are just to name a few. There's also youth suicide prevention, life promotion work, and many more. So that's a bit about us. So the training, has its origins from 2016 to 2020. And the work was really brought up with the late Dr. Barry LaValle, John McGavick, and Caroline, and our diabetes intervention program. Am I saying it right? Integration project. That's what it is. And they provided diabetes care and support to First Nations communities here in Manitoba. And what they heard from the DIP dip in relations to the First Nations people who were receiving care is that there was a lot of racism experienced from the healthcare providers to the First Nations receiving care back in that time period. So they decided to come up with this training program that was delivered to people who were involved with the Diabetes Integration Project. So, and it was really impactful because they were able to make those connections and have better outcomes for diabetes care. It was developed by our First Nations Health and Social Secretariat of Manitoba, but it is grounded in Indigenous-led. It is Indigenous-led and accountability and systems change. So today we continue to do that work. I think we're up to about 9 cohorts already, and I'll get into that a little bit further into the presentation. So why does this work matter? I often attend different presentations and different workshops, and it always blows me away that we only make up 5% of the population throughout all of Canada. And yet there is just so much hate towards us. So if we only make up 5%, why is that? I can't imagine going anywhere else in this world and only seeing 5% of the population, the native population of that landmass. That shocks me. In Manitoba, we have 18% of Indigenous population that includes First Nations, Métis, and Inuit people here in Manitoba. So we have this population here, and it makes me wonder about why is it like that? And when we go through some of these the articles, we have lots of academic research and articles, and we have these TRC's call to action from 2015, MMIWG final report, and Plain Sight report, and SCO has a really good report on the experiences of racism in healthcare in 2021. But it's shaped by colonization, displacement, residential schools, systemic policies that are designed to assimilate, and also to remove us from the land. I also included why we do this work is the inquest into Brian Sinclair from 2014 and Joyce's principle in 2020. If you haven't heard of them, please go look into their story, the amount of racism that was experienced. It's deathly. It can cause death to us. So that's why this work matters. And I'm just gonna pause right here because Dr. Barry LaValle was really important into the work that we're doing. And he suddenly passed away this year, and we made a tribute video for him. And I'd just like to take a moment and just play that video for us. And if it doesn't play, then I'm going to switch out screens and then also go back into the screen where the video can be shared. So it's about 2 minutes. Please let me know if you can hear it and see it. Is it good?
Everything that I've done and do, for community people has really been based on justice, based on equity, and based on holding the systems of white supremacy accountable to what doesn't happen to my community members.
And I am a Bear Clan member, and the Bear Clan member is about health and healing. That's the only way I got through, is because of my ancestors.
The current healthcare system was never made to advance health and healing for First Nations or other Indigenous peoples. It's not broken for us. It's just never been aimed at our bodies. And one of the biggest challenges is to get people to think of us not in stereotype, but to think of us as equally human.
If you are a First Nations person and you look like a First Nations person, whatever that might be, you are at risk going into any healthcare system within Manitoba.
Indigenous-specific racism
needs to be names. What is its manifestation in terms of the health and health outcomes for Indigenous peoples? It is violent and it kills. So what do? We do not ask for permission. We do not beg for resources. We demand resources to attend to the 150 years of colonial violence that manifests itself today. Because you have to see that the resources that comes from these lands is rent. You owe us rent. And whenever it's Indigenous health, people want to know, what's the answer? What's the solution? And I got to tell you, I've been in the business for 30 years. Please don't ask that question again, because you have the answers and the solutions to what's going on here. With the medical students I work with, whether they feel uncomfortable or not, I tell them, go see a counselor. If you can't deal with your positionality and your power as an emerging physician, then don't see Indigenous people.
The message I'm giving you is to be kind. Be kind to the ones you love. Be kind to the kids in your life. I hope you have a really great day. Practice kindness. Our elders have always told us to do that.
Thank you. So he was just such a phenomenal teacher, and he was really there from the beginning and left us with this work that we want to continue, and it comes from the heart because it's for our people. This other data I just wanted to share because this was recently released, and it was in partnership with FNHSSM, and it was called Our Health Counts. And so they interviewed over 1,000 First Nations and Métis and Inuit people in Winnipeg. And the reason I'm sharing this is because this information only echoes what the experiences are for Indigenous people trying to seek care in health here in Manitoba, and the amount of racism that happens. So I want to share these. I know you may have heard them before, but I feel like we don't hear them enough and really stick with them. So 67% of the people in this report said that they feel less respect than others. 61 said that they were told they were not smart. 49 were called names, insulted, or yelled at. 59% watched more closely than others. And 60% hear racist jokes about Indigenous people. And 60% experience insulting comments in front of them. And unfortunately, these are things that I can easily identify with as a First Nations person. So 1 in 5 Indigenous people report racism from healthcare providers. Racism leads to unmet healthcare needs and avoidance of care. And experience includes stereotyping, dismissal and disrespect, and show lower trust and poorer health outcomes, and leaving people to guess that they shouldn't be here, shouldn't come here for health. So I put a QR code in there if you're interested in learning more about the reports that were gathered. So there's a huge distrust for sharing information. I just wanted to share that. So Dr. Cheryle Ward is one of the leaders in anti-Indigenous racism work, and there is a lot of work done in defining, cultural sensitivity, cultural competency, cultural humility, cultural safety, cultural awareness. I remember when I started first doing this work, I didn't understand any of these things. I thought they were all one and the same, but she was able to just really break them down. And also this work has been done by others as well. But our work for this training is moving beyond cultural sensitivity. So we want to move beyond just attitudes that recognize cultural differences and understand that these differences are important to acknowledge in healthcare. And then cultural Competency is an approach that focuses on practitioners developing the skills, knowledge, and attitudes needed to work effectively and respectfully with Indigenous patients and people from diverse cultural backgrounds. And cultural humility is the approach to healthcare based on lifelong process of self-reflection and humble acknowledgement of one's own biases, limitations, and understanding when engaging with another person's experiences. And cultural safety is defined as an approach that considers social, historical, political, and interpersonal power shaped in healthcare experiences. Cultural safety is determined by a person receiving the care. So we want you to be safe with us. And so our training is moving from awareness and being sensitive towards self-reflection, accountability, and understanding colonial systems and recognizing Indigenous-specific racism and creating culturally safe care and experiences. I just wanted to share that with you. So what is our training about? Well, our training is Indigenous-led. It's grounded in First Nations values and lived experiences. It is cohort model based. So our cohorts are between 10, well, I'd say between 10 and 12, 12 is pushing it. But like it's a smaller group and it's online. A lot of it is reflection and dialogue based. So we'll be handing out papers for people to review and read, and a part of their work is to, once they review and read it, is to send in a couple of reflection questions before our next session with each other. And those reflection questions help guide our conversations together. And when we don't point people out, we're like, oh, send in your question, but the questions are sent in anonymously, so we're not putting anyone on the spot. But it's very powerful to be in those sessions when people are making those connections, and you could see it in real time when people are like, oh, okay, they make those heart connections to make changes. So our training is definitely not built on guilt or shame. We really want people to have a better way of responding to racism in real time. So we really want to build confidence to respond with care and not silence. And we've been able to use this in multiple sectors in healthcare and research and academic settings. Our core themes are colonization, so understanding the impacts of colonization and dispossession. There a quite common comment that we hear from our feedback is like, why didn't I know this before? Or why wasn't this taught to me in school? And so it's wonderful to have these conversations where we bring to light that colonization. It has happened and is currently still actively happening today. So it's not something just based in the past. We talk about biases and stereotypes and how biases shape perception and decisions and care. We talk about power and privilege. And I think it's also important to talk about the intersectionality as well by Kimberly Crenshaw. And we talk about structural racism. So we examine systems and institutions that perpetuate racism, and accountability. How do we own our own roles and being accountable to change and action? So moving from awareness means meaningful action. So that's a bit about our training. So how our training works. When people are interested in taking the training or want to book a session, then I would provide a presentation like I'm delivering right now. But if you're moving beyond that, then we will schedule an orientation. That's usually a half-day session in person where we get to learn about each other, introductions, and talk about the intention of the training and what the format would be. So as I mentioned before, we do have weekly readings, that is Indigenous-led content, videos, and real-life examples. And just some of the readings that you may have, I can actually get into that a little bit further, but like there's just a multitude of resources in readings out there and videos. And I feel like almost every day there's more and more content on anti-Indigenous racism or First Nation specific anti-racism work that is happening in social media for sure. So a lot of the work that we do is discussion, and it's facilitated to support ideas, explore ideas, challenge thinking, and share perspectives. A lot of reflection, so where people will let us know, like something that they learned today, key takeaways. And, it's all powerful work when you could see that happening in real time. For the very end of the 8 to 10 weeks, we have a closing circle where we bring our knowledge together and we talk about next steps and commitments. So the key element of our work is 8 to 10 week cohorts, safe facilitated discussion. And how do we get this data? So we get the data from our registrations, our pre and post surveys, where we can measure the growth and shift in understanding. We are currently doing a really excellent analysis of that work already. And yeah, so hopefully we're going to be working towards publishing our work. For community building, it's been amazing to be connected to the previous participants who've taken the training and being invited to continue that work together in the community. And we have Indigenous facilitators, so we try to get like a balance of Indigenous and non-Indigenous facilitators within our work. And I'm hoping this will come up again. Okay, I'm going to come back to that part. So Indigenous facilitators and non-Indigenous facilitators, I'm going to come back to that. Okay. So we have weekly learning. This is just an example of an experience, right? So our weekly experience. I would say this one is probably from week 3, week 4. We'll talk about Ian Mosby's Administering Colonial Science on Nutrition Research and Human Biomedical Experimentation in Aboriginal Communities and Residential Schools. Oh, it's such a long title, but you know what? This is such an amazing read. He talks about like the experimentation, the nutrition experimentations performed on First Nations children in residential schools and without the consent of their parents. So it's horrible. It didn't even happen that long ago. And when I talk to a couple of my friends, they even share about like their own parents being part of that experimentation. And like it just is so recent, but the lasting impact of that hunger. So that would be a required reading. And then we offer people like an extended learning. Like if you want to learn more, here's a video that you can watch. Or sometimes during our weekly sessions, we'll show like a media clip. So this is a clip of a guy who's talking about this paper and like the video. So it's pretty neat. So there's a mix of learning media tools in a week. Here is a list of our trainers. So our team is mostly Indigenous, but we have, quite a few that are not Indigenous. And we really love and appreciate like that kind of support and allyship when we do that work together. I know when I first started, I really relied on Joanna Thitch, and she is Chinese, and she really had such a beautiful way of, sharing that knowledge with me and providing some of that training when I was first onboarded for this project. So she does provide a lot of support and training, and same with a lot of other people on our team. But what I wanted to say is that our team, none of them are paid to do this. They completely volunteer their time to co-facilitate on top of their regular work responsibilities. So I'm really grateful for their time, effort, energy, and lived experiences. Our team includes professionals from nursing, public health, social work, epidemiology, data sovereignty, and health policy. So their advanced degrees and certification strengthen their ability to deliver meaningful and impactful training. So I just wanted to share that. Thank you. So how many trainings have we done? I think we're up to, I want to say, we have completed eight cohorts since 2021 to 2026. And we have 3 cohorts that are up and coming. And so like we've trained over 100 people in healthcare research and academia. And we've trained 15 of our staff. So that's amazing. And just some of the things that we've heard, I just put down here. It changed how I approach patient care. I feel more confident speaking up when I witness racism. I became more aware of my own biases and how they impact care. I never realized my work impacts Indigenous people. The training gave me the tools to interrupt racism in a meaningful way. And I have a better understanding of the impacts of colonial systems continue to have on healthcare. So those are just some of the feedback that we received from the trainees. We're also working on a qualitative analysis. Yes, a qualitative analysis of the data that we have from our previous cohorts to also publish. So yeah, we're working on it. I'm gonna go to the next slide. So how is our work different? And I wouldn't even say different. I would say that like all the work that is being done out in across Turtle Island, especially when it comes to anti-Indigenous racism work, is all important, and they all help in racism and equity for Indigenous people. Our training does do a lot of work in policy and power, accountability, and the ongoing impacts of colonization. Our work is Indigenous-led. We do a lot of reflection and dialogue. It's a cohort model. We do focus on a lot on systems and institutions and power and structure. And our curriculum is always adapting. So depending on the feedback that we receive from our cohorts and when we hear of new things that are happening in the community, then we try to reflect those into the training as well. So our work is grounded in health work experience, Indigenous patient experiences, and our relationships. So that's just some of the work that we do. So some of the challenges that we experience are limited stable funding. Like a part of my work is to go and look for funding resources out there. And I find that the resources available are pretty limited, and our grant amounts are usually for events, and small project-based activities. So we had a grant for academics, for research. So we had that. I'm going to keep on going, but we also need to work on our curriculum development. We have one right now, and we're working towards accreditation. We need more help with our facilitator development, so train the trainer, mentorship, and expanding the amount of trainers. Right now, the work or the funding that we get is for one position. That's my position. And it's just for salary dollars. But like more could be done if we had other staff to also assist in doing this work and to expand the work. So I just want to name some of those challenges. So I am just going to go to the next slide. Where we're going, we want to be able to train the trainer. We also wanted to work on a community of practice. We're working on that. We have a podcast that we're going to be planning. Our our first session is this Friday. And yeah, we're working on accreditation for our curriculum. We want to expand healthcare training, definitely national collabs with other partner organizations and networks across Turtle Island. And we want to work on accountability mechanisms. And we also want to have youth and community sessions to inspire the next generation of anti-racism people. So how funding helps. If we had more funding, we would definitely provide more training for community. We also want to have like more reach with healthcare workers to actively provide safer care for patients. We want to be able to adapt the curriculum and work towards accreditation. I think that's my third time saying that. Sorry, guys. I'm really excited about that. And we want to support evaluation and research. So how are we measuring the outcomes and impacts of the work that we're doing? And we want to strengthen the data analysis and interpretation of the work that we're doing. We also want to create accessible learning materials through developing videos, podcasts, toolkits, and online resources. And we want to expand Indigenous-led systems change. Okay. So that's a bit of the stuff that we want to work on. I know in this presentation, I was going to talk a little bit about the conference. So this year, we had a conference in Winnipeg on February 18th and 19th, and it was our very first Anti-Indigenous Racism conference, and it was called Moving Beyond Land Acknowledgements, Disrupting Anti-Indigenous Racism in Healthcare. So we had 210 people that registered. We have 42 presenters and 25 staff volunteer. We had a post survey where we received 60 responses, and this is what they told us. And what they told us is that they needed more time for the presenters and also longer breakout sessions. The first time that we delivered this, we had a lot of amazing abstracts that were sent in. And so we wanted to try to see how many we could fit in the amount of time that we had. So we only had 2 days, but that's why we had 42 presenters. I think we initially had like maybe 20 presenters over the 2 days, but then it just expanded from there. But all together, it was amazing. Lots of people really enjoyed that conference, and we hope to have another conference in 2028. But yeah, funding's always going to be like a bit of an issue there. But we hope to work towards that, think it and grow it and make it possible, have that intention, and, we'll see what will come. Maybe we won't have it at the same location. So there was feedback about parking being a challenge. And people really, really wanted to spend more time networking and relationship building at the conference, and we heard them. So we definitely want to work on that. Yeah, and also more action focused for discussion. So there was responses like they wanted to learn more intervention, how to intervene, how to disrupt anti-racism in real time. So maybe next time we'll have role playing or techniques, or where people can respond in real time when they see and hear something that may be really harmful. And that's that's some of the feedback that we got from our training. Some the keynotes for our conference was Dr. James McCocas. He's a First Nations physician from Saddle Lake Cree Nation in Alberta, and he was a contestant on The Amazing Race. It was amazing to have him. He gave a really wonderful, great presentation. We had Dr. Marcus Greatheart, another amazing physician who provides clinical care and training to medical students out in BC. And then we had Dr. John McGavick. He's been working with Dr. Barry since the beginning in 2016, and he's been a huge ally and support in the training that we do. And when I first started, he joined and supported to co-facilitate. And I need to say that I've learned many many good teachings from Dr. John McGavick in being a part of those trainings that we've delivered together over the past couple years. So thank you, Dawn. And then we also had Rose LeMay, and she wrote an awesome book called Ally is a Verb, and would, strongly suggest to go and get that book. It's really awesome. So in closing, I want to play our MC for that conference. His name is Michael Redhead Champagne, and I'm just going to press play.
You guys had racism? What? I'm asking you to take care of yourselves because I'm going to need you in 10, 15, 20 years from now to make sure that we can sustain the anti-Indigenous systems change that we've been learning about here today, and make sure that our children, little ones, and the ones that are yet to be born get to experience a world where they look at us funny and say, you guys had racism? What? It's going to be real, and we're going to do it. But we're only going to do it if we take care of each other and one another and ourselves in a good way.
Oh, so with that,
You guys had racism?
Come on. I'm going to end with that because that's what we want. We want to work towards not having to deal with racism anymore. We want to be able to work towards being good to each other, good with each other. And with that, this is my contact information. If you're interested in maybe booking a session or wanting to learn more about our training, yeah, just reach out, and it's super easy to get a hold of. Yeah, and I'll end with that. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Cheryl. Thanks for sharing everything. I guess we'll invite some questions and discussion now. If anyone has anything, you can type the question in the chat or unmute yourself and chime in and ask or share some insights with Cheryl. Autumn?
Yeah, miigwech for that, Cheryl. Really greatly appreciated. Fantastic initiative through and through. And it's really nice to see how it has grown and spread over the years. You've had some tremendous leadership there in your back pocket supporting you all along. And I trust that, Bariba is still walking alongside you all. And, you're a really excellent presenter. So I guess this really isn't a question, but I just want to let you know that we see how you wear your heart on your sleeve. And, thank you for the tremendous amount of work that you're doing. Wink, wink. Let's connect here at IDHC, see where we might be able to support. And, we have social media to bump things out. I think you're doing, a fantastic job in that area, but you never know, we might be able to kind of co-partner on an initiative moving forward. But fantastic work, and kudos to, all of the hard work and the volunteer that goes behind making this a reality. So thanks for that, Cheryl.
Thank you, Autumn.
Yeah, there'd be good synergy there for IDHC and Kairatsa, the public policy work with this training for sure. Question from Tyra in the chat. Masi, Tyra Moses, I am Decho Dene. Where do you go to apply for the training? Do you provide presentations for Indigenous organizations?
So yes and yes. There is a training that's coming up with the Children's Research, no, what am I talking about? Children's Research Institute, Manitoba, CRIM, and Diabetes Action Canada. That's going to be coming up in September. And I'm just wondering, like, if I'll have to get back to you to see if I can share that link. But I'm pretty sure we can. I'm not too sure. Can you send me your contact information, and then I'll be able to get back to you on that. Cheryle Dreaver at First Nations Health and Social That's my email.
Okay, thanks, Cheryl.
And for presentations, yep, if you guys want me to come and deliver a presentation, just reach out to me by email, and yeah, we'll get a presentation in there. Were there any aha moments inside that consistently came up on unexpected themes and cohorts? Yes, 100%. I would say usually it's around food because people don't regularly associate food as being racist. And like the consumption of food and where we access food and food deserts, and also food access and sustainability in First Nations communities and how it connects to diabetes care. And so people are always shocked to hear about like the not so great food in community, but also interested in learning more about like the awesome programs that are happening in community that are First Nations led, like through gardens and canning and traditional food. There's a word for it. I'm lost to the word right now, but yeah, there is. So there's that. I think people are always shocked about like learning more about land and treaty rights and harvesting and people encroaching on the access to harvesting. So how is that being done? Yeah, berries, picking, and yeah, residential school. There's all sorts. Like it happens every single time. Like we're in session together. I hope that helps, Adam.
Thanks, Cheryl. So welcome. Any other questions or comments for Cheryl? Oh, Autumn raised her hand.
There are lots of questions, Cheryl. So I trust that during these sessions, some high emotions unfold, either with Indigenous or non-Indigenous participation. Like, how do you mitigate that? Like, do you have an elder, knowledge holder, counselor, somebody, during the session or post session to be able to help support, somebody dealing with those situations? I guess going back to Barry's quote, right? He's like, seek a counselor, but just wondering how you navigate that throughout the course.
100%. I'm so glad that you asked because like I totally like, woo, when you're presenting, it's just like gone. So our trainers, before we deliver a training, we meet for a half hour before the training starts. So we meet to talk about the paper, we review the questions that were sent in, and maybe anticipate any resistance that might come up during the training. So that way we have that prep before we go into the training. So we kind of like may have expect some of that resistance based on the questions that are sent in. And then after the training or after the session, we meet for another half hour to do a debrief. We talk about like what stood out to you in the session. Was there anything that needed to be addressed? Was there anything that we should have brought up? Like, like that we should have said something right there and then, or like things like that. So we have the beginning and the end of the session is looked after. We also have a knowledge keeper. His name is Denzel Bless. I want to say Bless E, but I'm pretty sure it's Bless. But he comes to our orientation and our last session together. And if at any point that person needs extra care, we can make a referral to Denzel. But I found throughout all the trainings that I've done, if I've identified or if we've identified a person that needs added care, I just call them. I'll be like, hey, we had a session today and I'm just checking in on you to see how things are going. And just having that one-on-one and just having that open door. Like if you need to talk about something, like I'm here, and if not with me, Denzel's there. So like there's also that balance as well. So yeah, really important.
That's great. And I trust that you guys debrief and brush everything off as well so that you're not burning out.
Yeah, it's I want to say, yeah, I'm gonna do that, but like we just gotta go. Like you're just so busy all the time, and just like by the end of the week, it's like, okay, now time to put you to rest and then like focus on me. So I try not to make it all anti-racism work, but yeah, I feel like everything. I kind of drive my family and my friends a little bit nuts. Like, no, stop with the anti-racism stuff. And I'll be like, I can't help it. It's my life right now. Yeah.
Great. Thanks.
Thanks, Autumn. Thanks, Cheryl. Question in the chat. Nobe here, a Zimbabwean diabetes nurse who lived and worked in Nunavut. Do you conduct presentations outside Manitoba? And how do you reach health authorities Canada-wide?
I think there's almost two questions in there, Nobe. So like the health authorities, like Shared Health and Prairie Mountain Health. I think there's like 7 health authorities here in Manitoba, and they have their work where they're working with Guamazin, which is over at the University of Manitoba, and they have their own anti-Indigenous racism training. But I don't know any more than that. But we are a First Nations-led anti-racism training, so people are interested in, getting that kind of training, then to reach out for presentation. I can do a presentation like this, but like I think if people, I know that there's been interest in presentations like, can you do like a 2-day workshop? And we're looking into that. So I kind of like built a draft 2 to 3 day session instead of an 8-week session. And like it's going there, it's expanding towards that area, but like we don't have a cohort. So maybe if they're interested in something like that, maybe we can look into that and push it forward. Yeah, but we were also doing like some cost analysis of how much that would be. How much would it be per person? How much would it be for a cohort? And yeah, we're exploring like those costs to be more self-sufficient. So we're not relying on grants and government funding. Like we want to be able to be self-sufficient. Like it's like an NVCI, a CPR, first aid course. Like you pay for that, and this is what you're gonna get. So yeah. I hope that answers your question in a long-winded way, Nobi, but like please reach out to me and we can just talk directly.
Thanks, Cheryl. Again, Cheryl's put her email address in the chat there. I guess last call for questions or comments. Oh, Kitty?
Yeah.
Hi, Cheryl. That was a wonderful presentation. I was really touched by a lot of it. I do the community of practice for Food is Our Medicine with Nourish, and that is our focus. We focus on food, and I just wanted to know if you had, in particular, if there was like components of what you do that address the food portion of it. Maybe I should send you an email. That might be a little bit easier,
That'd
right?
be my response for everyone. Just send me an email. There are a lot of different food articles that we like to read. Let me see. I really like the one from Burnett, Hayes and Chambers. It's called Settler Colonialism and Indigenous Food Policy. I'm so sorry. If you send me an email, I could send it to you. But
Okay,
like
great.
they talk about it almost goes hand in hand with Mosby. So right after Mosby has his year from 1940 to 1950, they write from 1950 to 1960, something like that. But like they talk about like, and this is fascinating for me, child tax benefit. Okay. And child tax benefit is a benefit that was issued to mothers all across Canada. But like if you are a First Nations woman living on reserve, guess who got the child tax benefit? The Indian agent. And the Indian agent decided what to buy for the community. And I'm just blows my mind. It's not even that long ago. But they also talk about like formula and how like there was I want to say propaganda. I want to say that people were really pushing formula fed babies as opposed to breastfeeding at the time. And it was really harmful for First Nations babies because they they didn't have clean water to use with the formula. So babies are getting dehydrated and dying. Yeah, so that's a really good paper to read. I really like this other one too, and her name is Alison Conrad, and she talks about really good definitions for biases in food. Yeah, I'll just leave it there, but those are some good ones.
Okay. Thank you so much. Jeff, thank you so much for having this available for us. I'm always looking for listening for new things when we're talking about it. So the whole concept of us fighting one person at a time is how I say it. One person at a time to have the knowledge to be able to understand where they are, their positionality. I think the presentation that you do is I want to be participatory and I want to do it. I want to be part of one of your cohorts. I want to do that. So, but I'll put that in my email. Thank you again, and thank you again, Jeff.
Thanks, Katie. Oh, Tristan, you got a comment?
Yeah, just wanted to say thank you so much, Cheryl, and wanted to quickly note that if folks want to join us, we have a few other virtual visits coming up this month, and especially next week on Thursday, we're going to be hearing from Janet and Madison from the Sioux Lookout First Nations Health Authority, and they're going to be talking about empowering community health workers in diabetes care. So I've just thrown the link to register if you're looking to join us for another conversation next week. That's in the chat, and hopefully we'll see you all there. And thank you again, Cheryl.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank
so
you.
with that, thanks everyone for joining us. And like Tristan said, join us next week and another session on the 29th with Rachel and Spencer from the GitGat. I hope you all have a great day. Thank you, Cheryl. Thank you everyone for joining us.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.